Hi guys, and today I've got for you the BYD Seal UDMI. And although it's called a Seal, I know the Seal is a saloon. I've reviewed that previously and it's on my channel. Go check them out. This is actually kind of like the SUV version of that, or the SUV family that fits into that family, if you like, So what can I tell you about this? I did actually do a very quick walk around of this car some time ago when I visited the BYD headquarters, but now the car is being launched at a pretty fancy event here at Farnborough International Exhibition Centre and Airport, which is basically a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. But it works in a couple of different ways. They're calling it very much an electric dominant architecture. So it has the BYD blade in the floor pan, and it mostly tries to act and behave and run and be as efficient as an electric car, but obviously the engine is there as well. And it has several modes. So for example, it can drive on EV mode. So this is the base model. This is Boost. There'll be another one that come in a bit later. That's the comfort one. That gets a bigger battery. This one will do 49 miles on EV only, and that one will do about 77. And then there'll be an all-wheel drive version. This is the front-wheel drive, and there's an all-wheel drive version as well, which I hope to have a go in as well. That's the top of the range Design Edition. Boost, which is this one. And keeping in mind, I'll show you, there's a lot of standard kit on it and stuff like that. And it's a family SUV, starts from £33,205. And the comfort version with the bigger battery and the bigger electric only range, that's £35,205. And then the Design Edition, that's the top of the range all-wheel drive, that's £39,905. The Boost has 217 brake horsepower. It'll do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 8.9 seconds. And the all-wheel drive Design has 320 brake horsepower, and that will do 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds. So as usual, what we'll do is we'll have a quick look around the car. We'll check out the boot, we'll check out the interior space, and of course, we'll take it for a drive. A brown car guy. Brown car guy. So let's check out the boot space on these cars now. They're all identical, so it's powered there. Check that out. So this is standard spec. So this is standard on the car. So this is what you get. So let me fold that back so you can see 60/40 split folding seat, actually quite a decent amount, about what you'd expect, to be honest, on a car this size. But you do have this, so let's have a see what's underneath this. And you have, we have some space under here, so there's some compartments and there's a toolkit and all the rest of it. Then you have, if I can put that back, and then you've got a pocket here. And you've got a big, I guess that's a speaker there, so that's quite good. And you've also got a light, so that's pretty handy. There is the button up here. Let's close it and let's see what the interior rear passenger space is like. Okay, so here we are. I think my shoes are not too bad to get into this brand new Seal UDMI. Now this thing does have, unfortunately I should have opened it, but it does have a full panoramic sunroof as standard. So it has a standard panoramic sunroof in this car, but this seat actually is further back, because I haven't yet driven the car. I've just moved it from there to there, and I did notice that this seat was further back than where I would normally have it, despite my 6'2" with long legs. So that actually is in a further back position than I would normally have it. And as you can see, I still have plenty of knee room there. No problem with shins, and despite the fact that there's a battery in the floor, it doesn't do that thing where my knees are too high because it feels like my feet are higher than they should be. These are very nicely sculpted, if you can see the back of these seats, so they look pretty cool. You have vents down there, and then you got two USB-C plugs down there as well. Over here, you got Isofix child seat anchor points. They all come with vegan leather as standard, and at the front they have power adjustable seats as well. Cup holders in there, and up here you've got lights. That's quite handy. There you go. You just touch it. If I can move this to a higher position, there you go. You just touch it on and off. There you go. That's quite good. So that's quite good. So yeah, I should have do that. Let me see if I can do it when I get in the front. Time to actually get in the front. Here we are. Let's try and get my shoes a bit clean because we're on a bit of grass there. So here we are inside this amazing SUV. And actually, like I said, let me first of all adjust the power adjustable front seats. Actually, so that was in the furthest back position, that was, yeah. And I want to move the seat back up a little bit. There you go. Move it down a little bit. And actually then move it forward a bit. So there you go. So actually that would have actually given more room in the back. And so we can also open this. Oh, actually we need to start it up. That's the problem. So here we got all about the crystal gear lever. This doesn't really have gears. It has like a single ratio drive thing. What do they call it? I can tell you exactly what they called it actually. It's a single gear reducer. So it's a gearless drive system. That's basically what it is. So here's the start stop button. So foot on the brake, and let's see what happens when we start this up. Look at that. Massive screens there coming to life. Okay, let's open the window because it's a bit warm. I'm sure we can set the climate control. In fact, if I press that, there you go. There's the climate control, and we will set it to automatic. But then of course it turns the fan on too high. So I wonder if we can reduce, no. Oh yes, we can actually, so it's here. So we can reduce it there to make it a little bit quieter. So now we can close the window because there are airplanes taking off, as you can see. And why hasn't this opened? Okay, so let's do this. Ah, okay, it's actually, look at that. It's actually opening the whole roof there. So the whole thing actually opens, which is not actually what I wanted to do. So let's close that again. There you go. And hopefully we'll have left the blind open. Actually that will now, oh no, that's closing it again. Let's do that, do the other way. There you go. So now we've got the full blind opening up all the way across. Now while that is happening, to give us more light in here, actually it is much lighter now, this has got 15.6 and 6-inch rotatable screen, as we normally have with BYD, so it normally does that thing. But you know what, let's leave it like that. And here we have, as you can see, we have a large digital instrument panel, and that is a 12.3-inch screen. Now one thing, this is now, of course, dual chargers here, wireless chargers, so if I can go back down there. Wireless chargers, we've got AC modes down here as well, we've got drive modes, so we've got normal, sport, snowfield. Interesting. We've got eco, normal, sport, and snowfield. Interesting that. Crystal gear lever, as I said, EV and HEV, so we've got two modes for that. So we've got EV mode and HEV mode, so we'll just leave it in HEV mode. And that's the two cup holders down there. And you've got cubby box. What is this? This is to get out. Wow. This is a glass breaking thing. You see that? That's strange. Never seen one of those, or anyway, this is an emergency device. Wow, oh blimey, there's a blade in there. Oh, it's to cut the belts. Wowzers. Never seen anything like that in a car. So does that sort of thing happen a lot there, that they've had to introduce something like that? So you got a deep cubby box in there, and then you got that. Nice design here on the center console. So that is kind of brushed aluminium type thing, but it's plasticky, piano black plasticky, soft touch on the top here, leather like here, glove box here, quite decent size actually. Doors, pockets, you've got this kind of contoured thing there, enough to put a bottle in there. The same contoured thing is carried on the infinity speakers, nice design for the door. And then you've got the steering, which actually I want to just move out a bit, there you go. And it's heated steering as well, that's also standard. And you've also got voice control on here as well, speakers and stuff like that, all the buttons down there. Now on here, if you do that, you've got this system. Now, of course, it uses battery, and it uses the naturally aspirated 1.5 litre petrol engine. By doing this, there you go, you can actually decide how much battery it will retain. So 25% up to 70%. I'll just leave it on automatic, but you could decide that. And I asked somebody, I said, why vehicle control? Look at that steering wheel, heating, and all the rest of it. And I asked, like, why would you want to do that? And they explained that, so say for example, you're driving a bit of a distance to your kid's school. When you get to the kid's school, you go, you know what, I don't want to pollute these kids' lungs with engine emissions, so I want to save enough battery power so that I can go into EV mode. It will automatically go into EV mode anyway, or you can select it, 49 miles, but you can make sure that you save enough battery power so that you can do that. And of course here you got the screen, so I'm not going to go too much through this because I've covered this in other BYDs, but it's got all of the things that you would expect. So there's all your individual controls, Apple CarPlay, and all the rest of it. Right, I think the thing to do now is to take it for a drive. Hey, are you enjoying this video? Then make sure you hit the like button. It's very important. Plus, comment, share, and make sure you're subscribing. So here we are on the go, and I tell you what, it's a substantial car, and it feels like it. If you feel like you're sitting high up, you do feel like you're sitting in an SUV, and you can see that the size of the car is substantial, so it feels like it. I mean, when I say substantial, I mean, I don't mean it's like humongous and it's difficult to manage. No, it's been absolutely fine. I mean, driving around, I mean, we're on a small B road now. It's not really a problem, but you can feel that it's a sizable car. It's obviously got lots of beeps and bongs and things that it's telling you to do, what have you. But here we are, checking it around this corner at 60, not too bad at all. No steering feel, steering is quite light, braking is quite good. There's no, like, there's a sensation of a kind of like a kick down there, but there's not really any gear changes going on. So it's a kind of very linear, very smooth sort of thing that happens with this car. The ride has actually been very good so far on this car, not an issue. Actually very stable, very solid, and actually there isn't even any harshness that you normally get with vehicles that have got batteries in the floor pan. Seems to be quite well damped and well set up for what it's meant to be. And you can see a little bit of movement there, but the comfort level is fine. The body movement is there, but the comfort level is absolutely fine. Now, acceleration is plentiful in the car like this. I mean, again, there isn't really a kick down as such, I mean, it just kind of like builds momentum. It just sort of has a pause, thinks about it, and then it just kind of winds itself up. That's kind of how it behaves. So it's interesting in what it does without, gear ratios as such. The only thing I would say is that the rear visibility out of that window is a bit limited because it does feel very pillar box like, it's very slot like there, so you don't get to see very much. Of course there's 3 headrests, but even above the headrest you don't really see much behind you, just a very slim window there. But having said that, on the go it's fine. The mirrors are big enough and they really help, so that's not an issue. And of course it has 360 camera for when you're parking, so obviously you can rely on that to help you with it. Braking again, now I'm driving it, mostly I've driven it in just normal mode, so I haven't really played around with the modes much. But let's go into sports mode now and see if that makes it any urgent or whatever. Obviously I've left it in HEV, so it does the 49 miles on EV alone. That's if you're in the city, but we've mostly been out here, so there's not really any need for that. And you leave it on automatic and it will find the best anyway. And like I said, you can always adjust how much charge you want to make sure that the vehicle has when you get to wherever you want to get to, sort of thing. Actually, it's retained at any given time, but you know what I mean. So I mean, it does seem a little bit more urgent in sport. There's a little red bar at the top of the instrument panel now. Heads-up display, of course, also standard on this vehicle. Little red bar at the top to indicate that you're in sports mode. If I just play around with this, if I go into eco, then yeah, there's less of a response to the throttle. There's a more muted response. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer. If I go into normal, and again, so it's graduated. It's just slightly more of a response there to the throttle. And then if I go into sports, Actually, I can't now because the traffic ahead of me has slowed down. But definitely before, I felt more of a response, immediate response, if you like, in sports mode. Nice roads, nice sunny day. That always helps in the test drive, doesn't it? Quiet also. Very quiet, very refined. Again, you know, in the ride, there's just now that the road surface is a bit rougher, there's a little bit of jitteriness in the ride, just a little bit that you can sense, a little bit of movement. So there is that rigidity still in the platform, but generally it's fine. In terms of ambient noise, very quiet, very serene. You get a little bit of road roar. You know, there's no engine noise. There's no engine noise. When you really put your foot down, then you start to hear, oh yeah, there is an engine. But most of the time, I mean, to be honest, like it is driving as an EV now. I can see that from the display on the screen in front of me. I can scroll through various menus here, and then you can see through, you know, how much percentage it's using. 49.5 miles per gallon is what it's doing. So it's a combination of the two, actually. Tire pressures, miles per gallon, range, fuel consumption, all the rest of it, and then it tells you what it's using. And at the moment it's still using the electric battery, I suppose, with electric motor actually. Oh, the engine just came on, so you can see that. I can't hear it, but I can see it on the screen. I think just to sort of keep that minimal charge is probably why that's come on. Yeah, even now the engine is definitely on, so you can just very slightly hear it. It's just kind of a low tone there, but not really very much. So it's very quiet, very refined, very unintrusive engine noise, and generally seating position is pretty good. For me, I think that the steering, I had to adjust the seat belt here, which is a good thing that it has an adjustment, because it was too low for me, the seat belt here, but also lowered my seat a little bit because, again, I feel like I'm sitting too high, and I put it on the slowest setting, so that helps. And then the steering too is manually adjustable, but I've adjusted that as well. So again, just like chucking it into a corner, and it's not too bad. It's responsive and holds the road remarkably well, considering, you know, what it is and the size of it. So that's quite good. It's easy to pick up speed quickly in this car, which means it's easy to overspeed, which is why, you know, it's good to have those little warning beeps and things to tell you that you're going maybe slight, because obviously it's got traffic sign recognition, speed limit recognition, and all the rest of it. Speed limit assist, of course, standard feature now on all cars sold throughout Europe. And this one's the intelligent speed assist, I should say. It isn't locked on the way that European cars have it, where it will literally slow you down, but it's there, so it will tell you. And I think you can enable it if you want. So lots of text, lots of gadgets, great car, comfortable, easy to drive, big thing. So, you know, when you talk about value for money, I think considering the price of this one, you know, the entry-level model, at the sort of, you know, when you think about the sort of cars, I mean, 30 grand's a lot of money. Let's not be funny about it. But having said that, when you sort of think about the cars that you get for that, for your 30 grand, then this actually is very competitive in that sense, because of the size and the standard spec, the standard equipment that you got, the fuel economy that you got. So it's very good. Just in terms of the design and the styling, I think the Seal is actually a really good looking car, the saloon that is. I think it's really handsome, it's very sleek, I like the lines on it, and obviously it's got that ocean aesthetic that they call it, which is seal and dolphin, that thing that they're going for, and they have a kind of, you know, the wavy lines and stuff like that. And they've replicated some of that onto the face of this car, so the idea is to give it that family identity, but in the side profile it just looks like any SUV, so it's kind of weird. And also the Seal, like, it's very clearly an EV. The saloon is very clearly an EV, and this is not an EV. So it's really interesting to see how they've incorporated this into that family. But they've said this is a Seal, but the saloon is an EV, and that makes a statement about being a very good EV. And actually, it is one of my favorites. But here is the SUV, which makes no bones about the fact that as a family, you may not just want an EV, you may want the best of both worlds, because you want to be practical, you want to be safe, you want to make sure you get your family where they need to go without running the risk of running out of charge and stuff like that. I think it's quite a practical move. It's quite a sensible move. I just wonder the logic of still calling it a Seal. Anyway, that's what I think. So yeah, so it's really good performance, and you know, not bad for what it is. But of course, the four-wheel drive is more performance. So maybe we should give that one a try too whilst we're here. Sorry to interrupt the video, guys. Hope you're enjoying it. In the meantime, I wanted to tell you about this. It's my first novel, The Ulez Files. It's all about cars. It's for you guys. Get your copy now at Amazon.com. So whilst we're here, I thought we'd try a white one. Okay, there's a bit more to it. This is the top of the range one. So this is the Design. It's all-wheel drive, and it's got the quicker 0 to 60 time of 5.9 seconds. It's got 320 horsepower, and it's just under 40,000 pounds. To be honest, there isn't really any difference in terms of the look or the design or the interior, anything like that. So I'm not going to do a normal walk around. I've just done that with the other car. What we'll do is we'll just take this for a very quick drive, and just to see if there's any difference in the feel of this car versus the other one. Okay, so let's stick this into drive. Everything released. One thing I should have said, I didn't say about the other one. So if you can, I don't know if you can make it out. You probably can't actually, but under here, there's another little shelf there. And that's where the plugs are as well. There's a couple more USB-C plugs down there as well. In addition to obviously the wireless chargers up here. So here we are, 320 brake horsepower. Initially, there's no perceptible difference between this car and the one that I've just, the one that's, you know, nearly 10 grand less. But you know, I think the main thing is, oh, the ride seems a bit firmer, a little bit. We'll find out a bit later on. But initial thoughts is the ride just felt a little bit firmer on this one. Could be because of the extra drive transmission that's in this car, because of the all-wheel drive. And that's what I was going to say, is that really, I mean, you know, when you're buying a car like this, you're not really buying it for the performance. Again, 320 brake horsepower is nice, you're not going to argue with that, but I don't think that's what you'd be paying your 10 grand extra for, or nearly 10 grand extra. I think what you'd be paying for is the all-wheel drive. So this is really, if you feel that you need all-wheel drive, if you live in such a place, or if you encounter such conditions where you think, okay, actually the all-wheel drive will be the one to have, then this is probably the car to go for. Obviously, we're not going to be able to test out any all-wheel drive facility there. I know we are at the airport and we have a runway and stuff like that, but you know, we're not going to be able to go out there or mess around on the grass either. So get that thought out of your head. Or maybe I should get that thought out of my head. Anyway, I just want to have a quick drive in it just to see if there is anything that feels different in this one than the other one. So just straight off, I mean, to be honest, like, you know, again, there's that weird thing where there isn't really a gear, but there is a slight hesitation before it goes. But it does feel, even if it's in normal mode at the moment, even in normal mode, and let's see what modes it's got. It's got the same, yeah. Oh, it's got muddy. Oh, it's got a few more modes on this one now. So it's got, so because it's got all-wheel drive. Oh, I see. So it's got muddy land, it's got sand land, it's got snow field, it's got sport, normal, eco, muddy land, sand land. Isn't that hilarious? But anyway, let's go back. Let's keep it in sport for now, and we'll just take it out on some roads, see what it's like, see what it does. So as I said before, I mean, you know, not really any difference. Same heads-up display, same screens, same climate control, heated, cooled seats, power everything. You know, space is the same. So, you know, in terms of you know, what you're paying for, you're not paying for any more equipment. You're literally paying for the extra horsepower. Off the line, it does feel a little bit more eager, yeah, definitely, and more grip as it really puts all that power down and it gets going. So it does have that aspect to it. So that's really where that one, you know, the front-wheel drive, it just needs, I mean, it's not a slouch or anything like that, but just a little bit of a hesitation before, you know, like a couple of junctions, I was like, oh okay, I was hoping for it to be a little bit quicker off the line. This one does that. This one is a bit quicker off the line, definitely. Having said that, I don't think that, aside from that thing, that there is that much difference between this and the regular car. Yes, it does feel a little bit quicker. It feels like it's got a bit more power. It feels like it can lay down that power more efficiently. But in overall terms, in its daily driving sense, I don't think you're going to gain much more from this car, you know, unless you live out somewhere where you can eagerly exploit the performance of these things. But in any other sense, I think the regular one is the one to stick to. And I think that unless you need the all-wheel drive, so you really have to think about that. And that also did have snow fuel thing on it, didn't it? So I guess it does traction systems where it can sort of compensate for it and mimic an all-wheel drive. But unless you really need all-wheel drive, seems to me, just stick with the Boost, stick with the standard one. And then when the comfort comes along with a bigger battery and the greater EV range, then that would be, and I think that's only a few grand more. So that's probably the one to get, actually. So the one to get out of the Seal UDMI is the one that I haven't driven today. That's my conclusion. But definitely, yeah, I mean, if you're coming into it, value for money, Boost, I mean, yeah, go for it. This one, unless you really need all-wheel drive, nah, just go for the Boost. Catch you all in the next review. Let me know what you think of the car in the comments below. Shout out time, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, if you enjoy my content, why not get involved? Buy me a coffee. You can do that at either of these links. Or if you're watching on YouTube, buy me a thanks or take out a membership. It all helps. It really does.